Church family, thanks again for joining us this morning for our Daily Devotional. We are continuing to look at us submitting to authority in our lives. We're going to be continuing looking at Romans chapter 13. Today we're actually going to be in verse 3. But before we jump in, I kind of want to give you a scenario. You are driving in a 55 mile per hour speed limit, right? And maybe you're in a hurry. Maybe you think that speed limit's a little bit low, but you are driving 65 miles per hour in that 55 mile per hour speed limit. We joke, but the reality is many of you probably do it. I have done it. I have lots of little pieces of paper that I've gotten through the years that prove that I have done that. But as you're driving along the road 10 miles over the speed limit, and you see a highway patrolman or you see a police officer pulled over on the side, what's your reaction to them? Do you just keep on trucking along at 10 miles per hour over the speed limit? No. For the most part, you're going to end up kind of slamming on them brakes. The police officer is going to watch the nose of your car dive down because you think that somehow you're going to fool him into thinking that you're driving 55 miles per hour, when the reality is he's probably already clocked you. But that's what we do, isn't it? We slam on the brakes, we go by and we sit there and we look in our rear view and tell ourselves, man, I hope he doesn't turn those lights on. Please don't come and get me. I don't want to pay this ticket. My insurance is going to go up. Whatever it may be, we slam on those brakes and we drive off with anxiety and fear that he's going to pull in behind us. And a lot of times he does. A lot of times he hands us a very expensive little piece of paper. Why do we have that fear? Why do we have that little brief anxiety? Well, it's because we're disobeying authority and we don't want to get caught. We don't want to face the consequence because we don't like consequences. And so whenever we are constantly living as opposed to authority, we're also going to be living in fear. And that's the very thing that Paul points out here in Romans chapter 13 and verse 3. He says, "For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad." Do you want to be unafraid of authority? Do what is good, and you will have its approval. He's kind of making a point. Hey, a ruler is not going to come after you if you're having good conduct. He's going to come after you if you've got bad conduct. So if you don't want to live in that fear, if you don't want to live with the anxiety of getting caught or live in fear of facing some kind of great consequences, then don't do anything that's bad, right? But go after good conduct. Go after submitting to authority in your life. Now, again, I want to be clear that if authority is causing us to sin, well, then we don't submit to it, right? But for the most part, our government is not calling us to sin. The authorities in our lives are not causing us to sin. They're not forcing us to sin, not here in America anyways. So we should submit to those authorities. And by submitting to those authorities, we don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live in anxiety. We can trust and know that we're fine, that we're okay. We can live without any of that. And the reason is because those authorities are not coming after us to give us a consequence. So, first of all, man, we really want to encourage you. Live in submission to the authority in your life, and you don't have to live in fear and anxiety. You can live knowing that you're not going to face a consequence because you haven't done anything wrong. So our author gives us a couple of questions for us to look at, and they are, when have you felt fear because you broke a rule? I think we kind of gave a great explanation of one earlier, but maybe write that down for yourself. When is a time where you felt fear because you broke a rule? And then secondly, how do rules and authorities help people live rightly? How do those rules, how do those authorities in your life, how do they help you live in a way that is just, in a way that is right? And how does that represent you to the rest of the world? How can that be a benefit to the gospel as you are walking through the world and having that gospel shared with those around us? Church family, again, I know that this is a tough topic that we're looking at this week, especially in the climate that we live in today. But I want to encourage you, man. I haven't just pulled these scriptures out of nowhere. I want to encourage you to read Romans chapter 13. I know that Brother Brent covered it earlier in the week on Sunday. And again, we're continuing to look at it this week. Go read it for yourself. Go see what Paul writes. And let's work to submit to the authorities in our life, not to be sheep, not to submit so that we are weak, but we submit because that makes us strong, to have control, to have self-control in our lives and submit to authorities, even sometimes when we disagree. Because when we do that, and if we do it for the name of Christ, then we're going to spread the name of Christ. And as you are working out how to do that, church family, we want you to know that we love you and we're praying for you.